Hello, in this video, I'd like to explain to you how to connect custom domain from any DNS provider into Odoo, but specifically, I would like to show you configuration with Cloudflare. So first of all, this is the concept behind connections from the DNS provider to Odoo using the CNAME. So here we have the DNS provider, and the next layer we have Odoo server, and next we have the Odoo database, and the next we have the Odoo website. The goal here is to connect the custom domain from the DNS provider to the Odoo website. So how do we accomplish that? And what is the concept behind it in simple terms? So here, now we have the DNS provider. You would make the connections between a DNS provider to Odoo via the CNAME. So for example, we have the CNAME www, where we connect it with the Odoo server by your database odoo.com. What is your database here? It can be independent, right? If your database name is Ethan, right? It would be www to ethan.o.com. Now, the next layer, you need to wait for the connections to become public. It's published by DNS provider. It can be immediate or it can take some time up to 24, 48 hours. You can check these connections, whether the connection is publicly available or not yet by using DNS checker. Okay, once it's publicly available, you can move on to the next step. If your database is hosted on Odoo Online, you can go to odoo.com/my/databases, and in the wheel icon, in the domain manage domains sections, you can click into it and use my own domain, and you can put your www.yourdomain.com. Your domain here is your own custom domain name, right? So, and www is because you are pointing from the DNS provider to the Odoo server using www in the CNAME. Now, when that connection is hooked from, because in some simple terms, you are pointing this to Odoo, and Odoo see that, but it doesn't know what to do with it. It has to connect these connections to a database, and this is where you declare that, okay, so this connection is connected to my database. In this steps, what Odoo will do is Odoo will also establish a secure connection by generating an SSL certificate for your custom domain. And that usually take an hour. It can take up to 24, 48 hours most. But usually when the www connections to your Odoo, your database odoo.com is publicly available via the CNAME, Odoo will be able to find it, and then it will be able to use that to create the SSL certificate. And it's declared here at this step. Okay, now the next step is for you to connect the custom domain once it has been pointed to your database to point to your website. You can go into website settings configurations, and you can fill in any for any website that you want to use the custom domain. You have to put https://www.yourcustomdomain.com for it to be connected to your website. Now we have the concept in simple terms jot down here. Let's move on to how it looks. First of all, I have my own website. This is my database, e-through-18.o.com. e-through-18 is my database name. Okay, so first of all, let me go into the DNS settings. These are all my records. So to start off, I will first create the www connections to my database. So I add a record. I would choose a CNAME. And the name field, I will select www. Right? And target is this database domain, the Odoo subdomain. Okay, and I do not want it to be proxy status. Why? Because the first connections in Cloudflare, it has to be available for Odoo to see it. When you have proxy turned on, you won't be able to connect with the odoo.com/my/databases because it's behind a proxy. After that connections, you can turn on the proxy if you wish. That is up to you. I recommend personally you to turn it on after the connection because Cloudflare provides many of the services that is pretty helpful to have a better connected custom domain. Okay, so let's create this, save it. And the next step is for me to wait for this custom domain connections from the CNAME to be publicly available. So how do I do that? I go to the dnschecker.org and I choose DNS lookup. So I would type in www.mycustomdomain and I look it up. Okay, now that I see it is connecting, right? It is publicly available and it's connecting. Now I can move on to the next step. Right? So what I did is this step, this connections from DNS provider to Odoo server. So I'm moving on to this step right now. So I need to go to odoo.com/my/databases. Now let's take a look at the database. This is the database I connected to E3-18. Okay, click the wheel icon, domain names. And here I want to use my own domain because I have it hosted on Cloudflare, right? So I do www.ethan.info and I verify. It says DNS configurations. Seems good. Okay, let's confirm it. Okay, so this will take sometimes about averagely about an hour for the SSL certificate to be created for the custom domain. Okay, so click X on it. Just to show you what it looks like here, just go to domain names and you see it's connected. Okay, so this step again is to let the Odoo server knows, okay, so this custom domain is pointing to my database and the SSL certificate is created. Okay, next is for me to go into the database and add it here. HTTPS www.ethan.info. .info. Okay, let's save it. You see how I put the whole custom domain with HTTPS www. This should be done because this is used for generating links. We want it to always use HTTPS. Okay, now the next step is important when you have Cloudflare setting and you want to redirect from the naked domain to your full domain. Now we add a record. The type is CNAME. We want to put add for the root. This is the same thing as putting ethan.info. The same thing as putting the host name. Okay, host name root is the same thing. So you can just do a root and Cloudflare will fill that out for us. Okay, the target. What is the target, right? The target is this www connections. www.ethan.info. You always want it to be proxy because this is the naked domain. Cloudflare will handle it behind a proxy. Okay, let's save it. Okay, now next, let's go to SSL TOS. make sure this encryption is set to full. If it is not, you can go configure and then set it to full, right? So yeah, right. You can select here, set to full. If it is not, it has to be full. Okay, save it. Now, next we go into rules. In the rules here, please click the plus icon, create rule, and click select redirect rule. And I like to give it a good name. We'll say host name to full domain. Okay. In the if incoming request match, I use custom filter expressions. And in the field, I would use host name. And operator, I use wildcard. So you see example how I explain what it looks like. So it's a host name, ethanhuyen.info, right? You see this icon, it means everything after that. So you want it to look like this, just the host name here, the value. Okay. And then you don't want a static type redirect. You want a dynamic type redirect. So select dynamic, and the expressions here is concat. You can also copy and paste this one from my email to you or the custom domain documentations. But let me just type it out. Okay, so ethanhuyen.info. This is your full custom domain, and comma http.request.uri.path. Okay, so concat open quotation https www.ethanhuyen.info close quotations comma http.request.ui.path. And the status code you want is 301. You want it to be placed first, and then preserve query string. Please always have this selected so that everything after your slash path is preserved. Okay, we want to deploy it. It will say it is active after it is deployed. Okay. Now the connection is established from the naked domain to the full domain. Okay, just to show you how it looks like. Here you would do HTTPS and then ethanhuyen.info. So Cloudflare allows the HTTPS redirections through the proxy. And when you go here, it redirects to the full domain. Right. So normally when you go to the this bar, this URL bar, and you type in ethanhuyen.info, what you're actually doing is you're actually doing HTTP ethanhuyen.info. But with this proxy redirections via Cloudflare, they allow HTTPS redirection as well. Okay. Now let's go back to DNS. So I recommend after you complete all of the configurations and everything is working, that's when you go into the www CNAME, right? www connection, the first CNAME that we created. Go to edit and make it proxy as well, so that we take full advantage of Cloudflare custom domain connection. This not only will go through the proxy, right? It is when we go through a proxy, we're protecting the custom domain. We're adding one more layer to protect it. Right. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.